Hello, I'd like to welcome you to today's video of our Advent video series. I'm Father Jim Kiter, pastor of our Catholic family of parishes, and I'm here with a couple of our parishioners.
I am Kim Guenther, and this is my husband.
Chad Guenther, and we have two boys. One's Caleb, he's 4.5, and Casey's 2, and we have a little baby up in heaven. We had a miscarriage in May, and we're here to talk a little bit about that today.
So thank you for taking time and sharing your stories with us. Maybe just to begin, share a little bit how the birth of your sons, and though you've had the miscarriage, you have two beautiful little boys, here with you on earth right now. And maybe just share like how that unconditional love you have for your sons, how that's helped you understand the Father's unconditional love, God's unconditional love for you.
I know when Father asked us to do this, I sat down and I kind of thought about how to answer that question. And I kind of thought of a time, this happens a lot with being a stay-at-home mom, everything is kind of overwhelming, and I kind of freak out some days where the trenches of motherhood is deep. And I might yell that day, or sometimes I cry because it's just so overwhelming. And our oldest son Caleb will always go and run off, and he'll go find this glittery heart that he had made like months ago. He'll come and he'll give it to me and say, "Here, mommy, like this will make you happy." And God showed me that, being adults, sometimes we're broken and it's hard to love unconditionally like he does. But when the kids are little, they are more almost like godlike. And it showed me that in Caleb doing that, it's the same. It mirrors how God loves us unconditionally. That when we get fed up and we yell at God, he's like Caleb and brings us the graces or that glittery heart and says, it's going to be okay, that I still love you no matter what you tell me, what you say to me, or how you act towards me. And it really just went, wow, like, yeah, maybe we struggle sometimes unconditionally loving our children all the time, but they really unconditionally love us, though. So,
Chad, you had mentioned a baby in heaven. You
Yep.
just had a miscarriage this past May. Maybe just share how the Father's love, God's love for you and your family, has helped you through that experience, and maybe what that experience has brought you maybe even to a deeper understanding of God's love.
I think by having the kids with us and having this miscarriage, it made it easier for us to talk with them, and it helps us understand a little bit more too by explaining it to them, and made it easier for us to accept it. It was tough for everybody and the kids, but I think by talking about it, it's easier for us to learn more about God and teach our kids and help us learn more too. So
and like for myself, I really realized how we were carried through the grief, and I always thought like God would never take a baby from us because I wouldn't survive, like it would tear me apart. But God really showed me that the prayers of the community, of our church community, of you and Father Andy, it was like that's what carried us, that it's God's love comes through those prayers. And the days after a miscarriage, I sat down and it was like I knew I needed to fill in some way, like God had to fill me with that love, because death can really tear you apart. Couples, families, your relationship with God. And I remember I sat down and I went to the book of Tobit, which is kind of an odd book to go to. You think you would go to Job or something like that, and I went to Tobit, and in chapter 3 of Tobit, it's right before Tobit prays his prayer of death. There's a line in chapter 3, verse 1 that says, "Then, sad at heart, I groaned and wept aloud. With sobs, I began to pray." And it was that same like looking now, it's like, well, that was God. It was, we have to pray to let that love into us. And I think the miscarriage really has probably brought us closer to God than even the birth of our children. You know, it was like, it gives you a completely different outlook of life and everything.
And there's always a reason for it, you know.
Yeah,
If
whether
it was-
we,
If it was to bring us closer, and you know, maybe we'll be blessed with something more in the future, or, you know.
yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for just your this authentic sharing and your honesty about a difficult situation, but the great blessings that have flowed from it. I pray you guys have your family, your sons, a blessed remainder of Advent and a Merry Christmas and Happy Advent to everyone.